Given the option, Trump as a dictator for 4 years, Biden as the president for 4 more years, what do you pick? Hey, what's up, guys? We are here in front of the United States Supreme Court, and we're going to talk to some people, get their thoughts on today's Supreme Court ruling. I'm here with
David.
All right, David. So Supreme Court today ruled that Donald Trump, or that the president, should have limited immunity. Are you aware of the ruling?
Yes, I am. I watched it.
What's your thoughts on it?
I thought it was exactly on point. I don't feel like that a president acting in something that is not immoral or wrong in any way should be prosecuted for it.
Donald Trump was pressuring Mike Pence to, not certify the election. You feel like that's okay for the president to do?
I think it was in a case where an election was bogus.
Okay. So other than Donald Trump calling it bogus, who else was calling it bogus?
I think if you look at the evidence when you go on and check it out, I mean, there were all these, the mail-in ballots were, when you have sometimes the same Social Security number being used twice, people that were dead casting votes. I mean, there's no way to dispute that there were votes that were cast that were bogus.
The question would be, if there was this much undisputable evidence, why did 64 courts throw out the allegations of fraud?
Well, I'll tell you why, because the majority were on the left, and they spent 2 years of Trump's presidency trying to prosecute him when they should have spent 2 years of trying to help the American public.
The 64 courts said there's no election fraud, and so you're saying the courts were corrupt in that regard. Now, is the Supreme Court corrupt in this regard now, or?
I don't say the Supreme Court's corrupt in this regard. I think the Supreme Court has a good understanding, even though all of them didn't agree. All of them didn't agree with this ruling today. That was a majority ruling.
It was 6-3.
Right. It wasn't a majority. I mean, it was a majority ruling, but it wasn't everybody didn't agree with it.
If there was that much evidence, then after January 6th, Donald Trump kind of dropped it and stopped pursuing it. If there's this much evidence, why did Donald Trump and all those people stop pursuing it, stop providing the evidence of a stolen election, a clearly stolen election, as you say?
Because he was wanting to let everybody see how incompetent Joe Biden was and come back in November and take back control and make America what it should be again.
He just gave up and let Joe Biden have the presidency to show America that Joe Biden was incompetent. That's what you're saying?
Well, he gave up because he knew at the time it wasn't going to be any way to pursue it. And then when he saw there was an opening to come back and finally put things back where it needed to be, he took it, and you see where it's at.
Capitol building, right over there. January 6, 2021. What do you think about the people that broke into it?
I think they were doing what everybody in there has a right to do, and I feel like they didn't do anything that was any more severe than what happened with the BLM movement.
How do you compare the two?
How do I compare the two? You had two groups of people who were pissed off about what went on, and they both did what they felt they needed to do.
Well, one group was protesting in the street against police brutality. The other group, that day, the Capitol building was closed to the public because there was a joint session of Congress. It was a constitutionally protected process to certify the elections, and they broke in, ended that process, and forced Congress to evacuate. How do you compare that to protests in the street from Black Lives Matter?
We conquered a monarchy to take this country. And that's what we're based on. When you feel like there's something going on, we have a right to do what we feel like we want to do. And did any of the people on January 6th, did they kill any of those officers?
Officers did die as a result of January 6th, correct.
From injuries, right? But did they shoot any of them?
There's other ways to die without shooting, getting shot.
How come there was no prosecution for the police officer that shot that girl?
She should have complied.
Unarmed.
She didn't comply with the officers.
Unarmed, right?
So are you saying if someone doesn't comply with the commands of the officer, they shouldn't be killed? So it sounds like you agree with Black Lives Matter.
Wasn't that the whole thing with Black Lives Matter? So
you agree with the Black Lives Matter movement then?
What I'm saying is they went and did their thing because they felt like we don't agree with what's going on.
Yeah, but you brought up Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt didn't comply with the officer.
What I'm saying is, so when a group of white people go and do it, oh my God, now they're trying to take over. It's a whole big thing. It's no different. One group spoke out about what they felt like was going wrong. Another group spoke out about what they.
But only one group literally stormed the Capitol. The other group just took to the streets. You said we have a constitutionally protected right. I argue that's the right to protest in the street, not storm the Capitol building.
Well, that was part of a street, and who owns all this?
Sure, we the taxpayers.
That's right. So if you want,
we can't walk in the White House when we want to.
If you want to come up here, you should be able to go up in there.
Anytime you want, even during a closed session?
You should be able to come up in here.
Do you feel the same way about the White House?
I feel like the American public, when something's going on, should have the right to come up here and speak out.
Yes, one question I ask everybody, and I want to ask you this especially. Given the option, Trump as a dictator for 4 years, Biden as the president for 4 more years, what do you pick?
Give me Trump.
Trump as a dictator over Biden as a president?
Biden's a joke.
So you would take Trump as a dictator over Biden as a president?
Yeah, because if that is what the world sees, if that is what the world sees as the person that is most able to run our country, then that's why the world thinks we're a damn laughingstock. I mean, you got Fire Marshal Bill up there running our country.